All right, Jeff, so let's talk insurance, homeowners insurance especially. When you're thinking about purchasing a home, when's the best time to start looking into homeowners insurance? I mean, when should you start looking for an agent?
Yeah, so first off, thanks for having me this afternoon. I appreciate it very much, Mike. I think really the best time is when you get a home under contract, because at that point you'll be able to size up really if there are any issues with the property, you know, and things like the cost of the insurance and just really any obstacles that need to be taken care of.
Is it true that not just because you have your car insurance with XYZ insurance, in theory, they may not even have homeowners insurance or be anywhere as a premium company to handle your home? That'd be correct? That's
exactly right. That's a great point, Mike. There are probably 1,500 auto insurance carriers in Texas, and far fewer of them offer homeowners insurance. I mean, first off, you've got an insurance company has to have a lot of capital. Because gosh knows we have storms, and when these storms come, it takes a lot of money to pay these claims and repair homes.
So let me ask you this. So how do you guys arrive at a quote on, so we're buying, just to give an example, a home, let's say it's valued at $250,000 here in the Metroplex. What's the process as far as coming up with how the quotes arrived at?
Yeah, good question. So what we will do is we'll ask you a few questions, some personally identifying information. And then we'll ask you a little bit about yourselves. And then the other thing is we'll want to know things like the square footage of the home and what the home's made of. In other words, is it a brick home with a comp roof, that type of thing. And what we'll do is we'll arrive at a cost estimator, meaning what we would insure the house for in case of, if God forbid the home were to burn down or get hit by a terrible storm or that type of thing. We're going to want to make sure that we can replace and take care of your investment.
So one of the questions that people ask us is, well, how come I have to pay for a full 1 year's insurance up front? And that would basically be because of what you just shared. In theory, if 2 weeks after the internet, God forbid, you know, an event happened and the house got basically destroyed, would that be correct?
That's really true. And I think one thing to think about is a mortgage company really has a couple of interests, and that is to make sure that your investment's protected and to make sure that their interest in your investment is protected. So what they'll want to do is make sure that the homeowner's insurance is up to date, and typically they'll require, you know, years up front.
Right. Now, one of the things too that I think people, they see it and they don't quite understand is why you guys base that off of replacement cost. Because they go, well, I'm only paying $200, but you can't rebuild it for $200, and I don't think. But you guys explain all that to them why we're doing it.
Yeah. So what happens is you know, we have inflation, and so the cost to rebuild goes up a little bit every year, no matter what a real estate market does. So what we're contractually obligated to do is to go out and hire any builder you tell us to go out and replace your home with like kind of materials and craftsmanship as best we can.
Right.
And so again, there are other costs associated. When we've had fires, and I've dealt with many over my 28 years, there's additional costs such as cleaning off the debris, keeping up to the current building codes and specs, possibly to the neighborhood or the subdivision. All those things come into play. So we have to make sure contractually that we're insuring the property for enough so that we've got enough insurance. And I can tell you the total loss fires that I've worked over the years, and there are many, it always costs a little bit more than you think.
Right. And that's what I think some people just don't take that into perspective when they're looking at it. So let me ask you this: when you're shopping for a policy, what red flags do you look for when you're talking to another company? Like, oh, you know, basically it sounds too good to be true. What would be the signals of it's really too good to be true?
It's a great question. Because North Texas is so active with storms, with hailstorms, what will happen is you can probably get a cheapy policy, but of course you get what you pay for, meaning what some homeowners companies will do is they'll do a policy that doesn't include replacement cost on the roof. And so if you think about it, let's say, for example, a roof costs $10,000 or $12,000 to replace.
Right.
Well, you know, that's probably the most likely type of claim that someone would have over the years that they're in that home. And so essentially, if you've got a policy that does not insure replacement cost on the roof, more than likely you'll be paying for the cost of that roof should you have a storm, or much in part.
Got it. So, and that brings my next question, which is, the most common claim that I think we all deal with, especially on the real estate side, is a major event, meaning hail event. So there's just been a major hail event. As a homeowner, what steps should I do kind of on my own to kind of protect what's going on? And then what steps should I take with my insurance carrier?
That's a great question, and I'll answer that in a couple of ways. So really, in the insurance policy language in a contract, there are certain obligations that you have, and there are certain obligations that the insurer has.
Right.
One of your obligations is to let them know if there's a loss. So your best bet is to contact your agent at that time, who can give you instructions as to, do I need to file a claim? Do I need to do something different? What should I do? But I think the most important thing is to get the roof checked out with the guidance of your agent, so that you can see if you've got an issue you need to address.
Right. But let's say that obviously I've got some leakage coming in due to that type of thing. It is really upon me to go find, I say repair guy, but somebody who I feel comfortable, get up there, tarp it off, whatever the case may be, to minimize what's going on. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. So one of the things that the insurance company will ask you to do is to mitigate the loss. It's contract language that you'll see over and over again, and that's exactly what that means is I'm going to try to do what I can do as a homeowner to make the loss no worse than it is.
So just walk us through the kind of procedure on your end. So I call you and say, of course you guys watch the weather as much as the weathermen do in North Texas, but all of a sudden you get a call from me and say, hey, last night my roof got totaled by softball size hail. What's the steps that you guys go through at that point?
Yeah, for Allstate, we've got a very specific unit that handles what we call these acts of God, these catastrophes,
Right.
and it's actually 1-800-54-STORM. That's our catastrophe unit. So
Okay.
we'll direct you to file a claim, because then we'll give you your policy information and guide you through the process. But what we want to do is get the claim filed so that claims can go ahead and organize an appointment to come out and take a look at your damages, so we can get you back down on the road to repair.
Right. Now, I would think that one of the crucial things, at least from my experience, is that I would think the insurance company would guide them to is make sure that when they are doing repairs or replacement, that they're going with a reputable roofer and not what we refer to as a storm chaser. We want to make sure somebody, even if there's a little backup, you want to make sure you're going with somebody we know is still going to be in business 6 months from now.
And I think really that's where your insurance agent or possibly your realtor can come into play, because believe it or not, whereas there are a lot of licensing obligations and requirements in our state to be a realtor, there are a lot of licensing and obligations in our state to be an insurance agent. There are almost none for folks that are in the roofing business.
I don't think they have to have a license. I think the expression is, are they a qualified roofer?
That's exactly right. So they don't have to have a license like we do in other areas of business. So, you make a great point, and you want to have someone that you trust. For example, I've got someone that I've worked with for 20 years. I know him, I trust him. He's a trusted client, and he's not going to go out and take advantage of folks. And I'll be honest with you, the toughest calls I get are whereby some unsuspecting person gets a door knocked on their door, and someone makes a contract agreement with them, and they say, hey, if you'll just give me half the money up front, $5,000, I'll go buy some supplies.
Right.
Well, likely, maybe, possibly, that you'll never see that person again, and then what do you do?
Right.
Well, what do you do?
All right. So one question I think a lot of the homeowners have is, when I do call in a hail claim, does it negatively affect my rates?
It doesn't. The acts of God, those type of claims, wind and hail claims, are already priced in. And believe it or not, when someone puts a new roof on their home, it actually improves the rate with Allstate.
Got it. Because the odds are better that something's not going to happen. Okay, so after a hail event, what would be the most common type of claim that you get from a homeowner?
Really, with the shingles, you'll see, is it going to affect the whole roof or part of the roof? That's the first thing we look at. The other thing is fences sometimes can be downed because of wind or hail damage.
Right.
In the worst scenarios, and we've had this the last few years in North Texas, the hail is so large that it can actually, go through windows, break windows.
Sure. Skylights.
Skylights,
Right.
damage to secondary structures on the property,
Right.
and then vehicles.
Right. So separate from a hail event, what would be an event within the house? Would it be like a plumbing leak, or, I mean, I guess what I'm looking for, what's the next common thing that you run into, most common from a potential claim?
If it comes from wind or hail loss, yeah, you may get.
Yeah, non-event. No, I'm just saying, oh, my dishwasher overflowed, or, you know that type of thing. is what
Sure.
I'm getting at.
Fire losses would
Right.
probably be number two.
Fire losses would be
They-
number two.
Fire losses would be number two. Sometimes more just for the contents, sometimes it damages the structure and the contents, depending on the nature of
Sure.
it.
So let me ask you this, because I don't think a lot of people do this. What's the most important thing they can do to protect the replacement of their valuables, the replacement of what they have in the home? They should take especially with taking some type of video record, or lots of still shots or receipts, keep it in a separate place, like a safety deposit box or something, and that would help with the claim, would it not?
It would, and that's a great point, and I counsel folks on this all the time. So what happens is, a claims adjuster is a person just like you or I. They're in the business to try to help customers, to get them back on their feet.
Right.
And so we don't ask that you keep detailed receipts of every little purchase, but when you get larger dollar items and you can keep receipts or valuable records there,
Right.
it's only going to help the claims adjuster for he or she to do their job to help you.
Understood. So, what myths are out there? Meaning, I would think that sometimes people, they go, oh, I didn't know that was covered. Meaning that they thought it wasn't covered and it is covered, or items that they assume are covered and really aren't covered.
The thing that I run into most often on theft claims is a good example of that. So homeowners policies, the right homeowners coverage does a good job of covering your contents, for example, in the event of a theft. That said, typically jewelry is not covered unless you go in and add it onto the policy.
As a rider.
As a rider. You
Right.
can do a jewelry schedule, which will give you more comprehensive coverage there. But I would say that's something where oftentimes people think it's covered,
Right.
and it really isn't unless you take the extra step.
And most people, most of the ladies are going to have a very nice, wedding ring or an heirloom maybe they got from grandma, whatever the case may be that they're looking to protect. Okay. I think one of the things that I've run into too is that a lot of times people think that flooding into a home is covered. And unless you have a flood insurance policy or a separate policy similar to that, you're really not covered on flooding. Would that be correct?
That's right. They call it rising water. And so what happens is if water comes from the outside, the only type of policy that we insure against that will cover that is going to be a flood policy.
Right.
And really anybody can get insurance for flood. You don't have to be in a high hazard flood area.
Because I think that's what most people don't understand, is that they assume when they hear the word flood insurance, they've got to be by a creek or a river or whatever the case may be, but anybody can get flood insurance. And then the flood insurance will be based off of an elevation certificate, meaning they come out and check in relation to if it's in a flood zone and how high it's at. So in other words, approximately, if you don't have, you're in an area that doesn't require to have flood insurance, you're probably in the $300 to $400 range, I would think, a year, all the way to whatever, depending on how close you are to some type of higher chance of a water event. Would that be correct?
That's right. It has a lot to do with what area, flood zone, that the government deems your property is in or isn't. And so you're exactly right. A typical flood insurance policy for someone not in a high hazard flood insurance area is about $450 a year, and then it'll start there and go on up if you are considered in a high hazard area.
Gotcha. So, what's the best way, I guess, how do you discuss the deductible possibilities with someone? How do you advise them from that?
Yeah, what's standard in a policy is going to be a 1% deductible, and what that means is if a home is insured, say, for $300,000, then your deductible is going to be 1% of that dwelling amount for any insured loss. So your deductible would be $3,000. So clearly, if you carry a larger deductible, meaning you're going to take on more of the risk, then we're going to charge you less. The insurance company is going to charge you less because you're taking on more of the risk. If you take a lower deductible, then we're going to charge you more because we're taking on more of the risk.
Right. Very good. Okay. Anything else that you'd like to share with us in, say, general knowledge, that a homeowner should be, or questions they should be asking when it comes to getting a policy?
I think we kind of pioneered about 20 years ago that we really want you to bundle if you can, meaning that for homeowners insurance, the best way to help on closing costs for that is if we can also look at providing auto insurance for you. It's going to save 20 to 25% on your homeowner's policy as long as you've got an Allstate auto policy with us. So I think that's something that 90% of our customers take advantage of, and it makes sense in many cases.
Right. And then you guys also have life insurance and financial services too and all that.
We do, and that's a good point because, if God forbid something happens to the breadwinner in the home or their spouse, we want to make sure that, we can pay off the mortgage or do that and then some, should the need arise, to make sure that people can maintain their lifestyle and take care of their family.
All right, so if somebody wants to reach you, how do they do that?
817-461-1066 or Jeff Hiemenz at Allstate.com. That is JeffHiemenz at Allstate with 2 L's.com.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate it greatly. Thank you so much, man. It's been great. And as always, you can go back anytime and see this on our YouTube channel. If you have any other questions or you need to get a hold of Jeff, you can't get a hold of him, call me at 817-845-4030. Thanks so much.